Welcome to the Non-Negotiable Living Podcast, where we're building lives by design by creating non-negotiable habits around fitness, family, faith, and financial freedom.
Welcome back to Non-Negotiable Living. I'm Ashley, and in today's episode, we are going to talk about the end of the year. So oftentimes as we get to New Year's, people talk about new habits and goals and what we want to bring into the new year and add, but how often do we think about the things that we need to leave behind us? So think about those habits, those mindsets, or even relationships that no longer serve us. So today I'm going to invite you to join me for something called Shredder Sunday. And it's a time to physically and spiritually let go of things that might be holding you back before you step into the new year. So we're going to talk about the power of writing down what no longer serves you and the significance of physically shredding those things before the new year, and even some biblical wisdom to inspire this process. So by the end of this episode, I hope you'll be ready to join me on this upcoming Sunday for a transformative experience that'll help you release the old and make space for the new. So let's get started. First, let's talk about why it's important to leave things behind. So every year people focus on new habits, and they focus so much on what they're going to start. New habits, new resolutions, new goals. And while that's incredibly important, it's equally essential to think about what we're going to stop. So what are the habits, beliefs, grudges, things that might be weighing us down? Like, what are we carrying that's preventing us from truly stepping into the life and the power of we truly want to be living and the kind of person we want to be? So there's a couple things we're going to touch on, and the first is emotional baggage. So when you don't intentionally let go of things that aren't serving you, but are also holding a space in your heart that isn't full of positivity, we tend to see that those things will creep back up onto us in the new year. And it's like carrying around the weight of a heavy backpack. You can't run freely towards your goals if you're being weighed down strongly by other things that you're holding inside. From a biblical perspective, in Hebrews 12:1, we're reminded that we need to throw off everything that hinders and easily entangles. So this verse speaks directly to the importance of shedding what doesn't serve us so that we could run our race in life with perseverance. And letting go isn't just practical, it is spiritual. So it's going to release such a weight off of you when you get rid of things that aren't serving you. And everybody wants to go into the new year adding on all these habits, these new things that they haven't been doing previously, but letting go of old habits makes room for the new ones. So we have to acknowledge the connection between the old and the new, and it's something that isn't talked about enough. Many of the new habits we want to develop in the new year require us to let go of the old habits that are holding us back. It's not just about adding more to our plate. We need to clear space by releasing those behaviors that no longer serve us. And this is where the power of reflection and intentionality really comes in. So I'm going to give some examples of old habits that block new growth. So first, let's talk about procrastination and productivity. So if you want to be more productive at work this year, you have to think about it. Is the real issue not about leaning into new strategies of being more productive, but letting go of the old habit of procrastination? So we might have to identify what's causing us to procrastinate. Is it fear of failure? Is it perfectionism? Is it lacking focus? So sometimes letting go of the procrastination will create space for us to show up and perform our best and increase our productivity. But if we just set the goal to be more productive and we're not acknowledging our tendency to procrastinate, then we're not nipping the problem in the bud. We're just trying to put a Band-Aid on it. The big one I really want to talk about is screen time versus quality time. So I hear so many mothers say, I want to spend more quality time with my kids. I want to spend more intentional time with my kids and family. But how often do you find yourself just mindlessly scrolling on your phone in their presence? So letting go of the habit of constantly being on our phone can allow us to be more fully present for our families and to engage with our kids in a way that strengthens that bond and creates those lasting memories. Now, a really big one I think is important to acknowledge is the resentment versus love. So if one of your goals is you want to be more loving towards your spouse, you want to, be more affectionate with them, spend more time with them, create a better bond with them, reconnect with them, but we're holding on to old acts of resentment, it creates a wall between us and our spouse, and it limits our ability to give and receive. So sometimes we have to let go of past angers or hurts or give forgiveness and have open, honest communication that can open the door to deeper connection. But so many people say, I just need to spend more quality time. And it's like, okay, but are you holding on to something that's preventing you from doing that? Are you Is there something going on in your heart and in your mind that is keeping you from doing that to your full potential? Now, another one I hear people say all the time is, I want to grow in my faith. I want to spend more time with God. I want to do a daily devotional in the morning. I want to start my morning off strong. Now, one of the biggest things I'll ask people is, do you really not have time? Or are you just making excuses for not being able to get it done? So I always encourage people to do devotionals first thing in the morning, because it's great to start our morning off with our faith and our spirituality and focusing our day on what we want. So maybe you want to create a morning affirmation and devotional time, but your real problem is that you hit the snooze button too many times. It's not that you don't have time, it's that you're not prioritizing getting out of bed in time to make it happen. So if you want to grow stronger in your faith, but you're having a hard time fitting it into your daily life, acknowledge, are you getting out of bed on time? Could you be getting up a little bit earlier to make this happen? So letting go of that habit of delaying your wake up time can create space you need for quiet mornings with God and setting a strong spiritual foundation for your day. And it doesn't have to be long. It can be 5 or 10 minutes, but just giving yourself that space and time is going to set the whole foundation for your day in a more positive light. Now here's one. Everybody goes into the new year saying, I want to spend less money. I want to save more money. I want to put more money into savings. But one of the biggest problems I see is people constantly hitting the easy button and buying fast food. So you want to start saving money, but when it comes down to it, you're draining your wallet and your savings and your extra income on fast food, on coffee, on things at the gas station, things that you really don't need. So what we need to stop doing is hitting the easy button and choosing convenience over intentionality. And you can put those funds directly towards something that truly matters. And I see this often with people who say that they want to get more healthy, but they say, I don't have the money to invest in a coach. And it's like, well, what are you spending your money on? And people spend so much money on online shopping, fast food, bars, restaurants, buying things that they don't need on Amazon, buying clothes, but people won't invest in their health. So this is a big hang up that I see with people is it's like, you have the money, you're just not allocating it properly. And if savings is something that's important for you as you roll into the new year, I want you to acknowledge that. Like, what are you spending your money on? Create a budget around it. Start putting money intentionally aside as soon as you get paid so that you don't have that extra money to spend. Unfortunately, people will have the mindset that their check hits and they make it through the whole month and whatever's left over goes towards savings. But you should really be saving off the top, not off the bottom, because if you save off the bottom, it's likely that you're just going to spend all the money and there's nothing left. Now, one of the biggest ones that I see constantly is the excuses of not having enough time for exercise. So people say, I want to start exercising in 2025. How many times have you said that? I just don't have time. I don't have time. So we need to let go of those excuses and realize that it's not a time problem, it's a prioritization problem. So we need to recognize that we're making excuses and we need to create space for action. So we need to look at our schedules and decide, where can I fit this in? If I truly want to make this a non-negotiable habit, where can I fit it in instead of making excuses that I just don't have time? Everybody in my program follows a 30 minutes a day, at most 5-day a week program. I don't know anybody who doesn't have 30 minutes a day. So if you're using the excuse that you don't have time, I call BS. Let's look at your schedule, let's look at your prioritization, and let's figure out a time to make it work. And all of these things are just small examples. You might have 100 more that you want to work on, but these are ones that I see consistently. And there's really transformational power in letting go of old habits to create space for those new ones. So every new habit you want to develop comes with a choice. What are you willing to let go of to make room for that change you want? And it's not about deprivation. It's about prioritizing what truly matters. So letting go is freeing because it creates space for growth and clarity and alignment and goals and new values. So before you write down your New Year's resolutions, I want you to take a moment and think about the old habits that are standing in your way and write those down too. Identify what you need to release to make physical room in your life to create a better 2025. Don't just think about everything you want to add in. Think about the things in connection with those habits you're lacking that are holding you back from getting there. Those are the things you need to get rid of. And then what we need to do is take the time and energy to write those things down and reflect on them. There is so much power in physically writing things down. When we write things down, it creates a neurological connection to those things. It makes those thoughts tangible. So rather than just being this big cluster of thoughts rolling around in our head, we're able to put them down on paper and make them something that we can shed light on and reflect on, not only for ourselves, but with others. And the act of writing it out makes us think deeper about them rather than just letting it be a fleeting thought. So we need to take time to do this reflection process. So I want you to take a moment to think about 2024. What habits do you have that don't serve you? What mindsets are holding you back? Are there relationships draining you? And I want you to write it all down. Every frustration, every fear, every habit you want to leave behind. And find that the physical act of naming it is so powerful. So when you name what's been holding you back, you write it out, you make it clear, you acknowledge it. In doing so, you create the opportunity to let it go and set an action plan around it. You could use this week leading up to New Year's to not only set New Year's resolutions. If that serves you, do it. I personally don't like New Year's resolutions. The only reason I go into a new year with goals is because I'm a business owner that runs off of a January to December calendar, like most businesses. But my goals are set throughout the year. So what I want you to do is, when you're setting your New Year's resolutions, also set this time aside to acknowledge what you need to get rid of. And then what we do is Shredder Sunday is the Sunday before we roll into the new year. You physically shred that. And if you have a shredder, you can run it through the shredder. If you want to burn the piece of paper, you can burn the piece of paper. If you want to rip it up into pieces, you rip it up. But you decide what you're letting go of in this new year. You set the intention, you set some actionable things to get rid of those things that are on your list, and you get rid of them. So shredding what no longer serves us is a physical act of release. And the way to say this is, this no longer has power over me. And there's something cathartic about watching those words and the things that have weighed you down be destroyed. It's a visual and an emotional release. And from a biblical perspective, when we talk about release, in Ephesians 4:22, it says, we're called to put off our old self, which has been corrupted by deceitful desires, and made new in the attitude of your minds. So shredding is a symbolic way to put the old self off and embrace the new. So why is this important for the new year? So before you set foot into 2025, I want you to take time to cleanse your heart and mind. And this act of shredding is like preparing your soil for new growth. You can't plant seeds in a garden full of weeds. We got to clear the space and make room for the life you're stepping into. So we need to acknowledge what's holding you back, who, what actions, what places, what habits, what thoughts, what mindsets, what resentments, and we need to clear space to make room for the person we're going to step into in the new year. So I want you guys to join me this Shredder Sunday. I'm inviting you to join me. It's simple but powerful. You sit down with a pen and paper, you write out everything that no longer serves you, and then you shred the list, literally or symbolically. Whether you have a shredder, scissors, you just want to tear it up by hand, the goal is the same. We release those things. And one of the most beautiful parts of this practice is doing it together. Even though we're doing it on our own lists, in our own spaces, we can share this act, and it is a collective act of release and renewal. And by the time you're done with Shredder Sunday, you're going to feel lighter. You're going to step into 2025 with a clear heart and mind, and you'll be ready to focus on new habits and goals and the blessings that you want to bring into the new year. So here are some actionable tips if you want to do this. Give yourself the next couple days, and just remember, this is an action you don't just have to take for New Year. You could do this multiple times a year. I think it's important to do this as like a quarterly reflection. If you start to notice habits and thoughts and mindsets that are weighing you down, you can do this at any time. But give yourself a couple days, create a quiet space, set aside time to reflect without distractions. I mean, you could light a candle, play some calming music, go outside if the weather allows, but create an environment that feels intentional and peaceful so that you could truly reflect on who you were last year, what things were holding you back, and how you want to get rid of them. But the biggest part is you have to be honest with yourself. You can't hold back. You need to write out everything that's been weighing on you. And it might feel small or silly, but if it's taking up space in your heart and mind, then it's worth letting go. Also, it's important to pray or meditate on your list. So before you shred, take a moment to pray about it. Ask God for the strength to release those things and the guidance to step into the new year without them. You know, He has the power to take all of this from us, but be intentional about it. Put some thought into it. Put some actionable thoughts and feelings and prayer behind it. And celebrate the release. Once you've shredded your list, take a moment to celebrate that you've taken an important step towards freedom and growth, and allow yourself to be proud of that. So Shredder Sunday isn't just about letting go, but it's about stepping into something new. It's about creating space for habits and opportunities and blessings in the new year. And by releasing what no longer serves you, you're going to make room for what will. So I hope you'll join me for this powerful practice. Take the time to reflect. I'm going to make a post about this on Instagram, and feel free to share what you did and how it felt and what things you might be getting rid of as you flow into the new year, with the intention of getting rid of some of these old things that might be weighing you down. Take the time to reflect, release, and prepare your heart and mind for the year ahead. You deserve to step into this year with clarity, purpose, and peace. So thank you for tuning into Non-Negotiable Living. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear about your experience with Shredder Sunday. Share your thoughts with me on Instagram or YouTube, and let's inspire each other as we transition into the new year. And until next time, remember, you're stronger than what you're leaving behind, and you're ready for the blessings ahead. So make space for them, be intentional, create those non-negotiable habits as you go into the new year. I can't wait to see what you do this year. You guys got this.